Hello, everybody. Welcome to HavoKast. We are going to be looking at Iron Maiden's second album, a very incredibly well-written album, a fun album, and an album that gets a lot of credit, but I don't think enough credit still. So I think it's still pretty underrated despite people loving this album. Every song on here is very easy to listen to, very good stuff on here. I don't really think there's a bad song technically. Music is preference. Music is what you want to listen to, what you feel like listening to, of course. And it's very opinionated. There's no real right or wrong answer. It's just whatever you feel like, which is why I love discussing music, because it's like, oh, you got that from that. Okay, maybe I'll have to re-listen and, I'll take a better look at it and maybe I'll get that from it. So, same deal with I'm explaining music to my friends. It's kind of like, hey, I like this because of this, and this is the imagery I get. Kind of like with the strange world argument I was making last time, where it's like the all around atmosphere and the world you're kind of transported into. It just does something so visual for me, and so just it does something so incredible for me sensory wise that I think that song just blows me away. And there's a lot on here that doesn't quite live up to that standard, but still very musically good. And some of these songs are kind of a window into what's going to come for the rest of the 80s. The 80s itself was just an interesting, incredible time for Iron Maiden. I mean, just one hit after another, and in my opinion, just kept on getting better and better. So we have the introduction of Adrian Smith as the counterpart of Dave Murray, who is, longtime Iron Maiden guitarist, of course. Adrian Smith and Dave Murray, I mean, what a duo. What an incredible duo. Dave Murray can just glide down that fretboard, and he has such a unique style. Adrian Smith, a very incredible writer. The accents he puts on things and songs, just beautiful, especially throughout the 80s. The accenting and notes and, playing stuff that kind of harmonizes with not just the other guitar, but the vocals and the bass, everything. It's just so good. Imagery, you get a lot of imagery from that kind of playing. And it's a very good tandem, very complimentary. You can tell with the writing here. And then next album, of course, Number of the Beast, they really start to explore stuff together and flourish. And then, with Bruce Dickinson coming in, it's just a whole dynamic range of sounds and feels. But Killers is a great album. I do think it gets overshadowed by everything else. There are 11 songs on this. Fun fact, I've done this ranking once already, but I didn't post it because I was listening to the European release, which only has 10 tracks on it. So the early European release did not have Twilight Zone for some reason, but the US release did. Why I have the European release and not the US release, I mean, who knows? I don't understand, but we got it right. We're doing the thing, and we are going through it now. We're going to kick off the list with no one's surprised, probably, that knows me. Number 11 is going to be Ides of March. I'm not a huge instrumental fan. This song is more of an album opener instrumental, so it's not even as impressive as Transylvania was. Transylvania was, hey, it's an instrumental. I love vocals. I don't love listening to instrumentals, but if you listen to it, you're like, oh, wow, they're really, kind of going off on the guitars and stuff here. It's a very good flex of, talent. But Ides of March, to me, it's just an album opener. There's some good bits, of course. It does a great job of building up to the actual opener, but I just, there's never a scenario where I'm like, yeah, let me go listen to Ides of March, unless I'm listening to the whole album all the way through. So that's kind of where I'm sitting for that. My next one, again, no one's surprised. It's going to be Genghis Khan. I'm not an instrumental guy. It's a good song. I mean, if it comes on, I can listen to it, but I'm not going to be, dying to put that one on anytime soon. It just doesn't, I don't know. Vocals to me, I like listening to the emotion that can be portrayed through vocals. You could definitely put a lot of emotion into guitar work and instrumentals, of course. I mean, listen to Voice of the Soul. That's an instrumental by Death, and it's got one of the most powerful feels of any song I've heard. But I don't know. This band, it was kind of in its sweet spot with the vocals, and it always really has been, apart from a little bit of the 90s. But I just think they have a lot to offer. Again, it's fun to listen to every now and then, but just not one I'm going to go grab. Going forward, number 9 through 1. It's tough to rank these. I think the top couple of songs are kind of where they're going to be for me forever, but the middle of the pack, it's just, flavor of the month kind of thing. It's just, man, these guys, they know how to write some good songs. But number 9, I'm going to go Purgatory. And the fun thing about Purgatory, and really a lot of these songs on this album, is that the introductions to the songs, the beginnings, there's a lot of bass, powerful bass intros on here that are iconic. There's a lot of songs you can just hear the first few notes and pick it out and go, oh, that's this song, that's that song, that's Drifter, that's Innocent Exile. It's so funny how they sound, but there's the whole song structure is good. It doesn't really feel like an afterthought for me with Purgatory, but at the same time, it doesn't feel as well put together as some of the other songs. So, I listened to it. I enjoyed it. I had no problem listening to it, but it's just not one of those that I'm going to be like, yo, I want that song. Or I hear the intro and I'm like, okay, I'm done because the intro is cool, but the rest is not. Now, Purgatory is solid all the way through. Just one of those I don't need to necessarily go back to all the time. If it comes on, I'll listen to it, but next we're going to move on to our number 8 pick, Innocent Exile. This one has a very fun kind of bouncy bass line at the beginning. I like this song a lot, and I think it gets stuck in my head a lot more than I realized. I used to have like the bass line just kind of in my head quite often, and I would think, man, that's a fun bass line. I really should listen to that song more, and it's just, I don't know, I never really came around to it on this last listen through I did. I thought, wow, that's actually a pretty fun song, and I like what Paul does with his vocals, He kind of does a little range action on there. Now, Paul, it's funny, he has a good register, and he can do, like, some very dynamic things, but I can't ever understand what the guy says. It's so funny. I like listening to him. His voice is an instrument, but we had 3 eras of, different singers here. And we had Paul, who I can respect his voice and I like what he does and he hits accents and stuff well, but I can't understand a word the man says. Then you get to Bruce Dickinson, who I can understand and he has a fantastic voice. And then you go to Blaze, who is, he's an all right singer, but he's not a great fit for the band and writing style, but you can understand him at least. So I don't know. It's just 3 fun little eras there. I don't know. This is the stuff I think about, I guess, when I'm listening to music. I should probably just shut up and actually listen to the music. But anyway, number 7, we got Twilight Zone. This is the one that got left off of the early European release, which I don't know why. They've done that now, I think, 2 albums in a row when it comes to leaving songs off. Actually, God, maybe 3, because I think they left one off of... I know they left one off of Iron Maiden. We talked about that. They left this one off of Killers, and then I think they left Total Eclipse off of Number of the Beast, which was arguably one of those better songs on the album too. Who knows? Who knows what the 80s were doing? But either way, Twilight Zone's a fun song. It's a very well-written song all the way through, and it takes you kind of on that atmospheric ride. Not to the extent that some of the other atmospheric stuff on the first 2 albums do, but you're along for a little bit of a ride there, and it's a lot of fun to kind of listen to Twilight Zone. I think that as far as listening to the song all the way through, this is kind of where we go, and it's not just a fun intro anymore. Like, these are really good intros, good song structures, great, we got great solos coming up. And the drums, Clive Burr was great with the drums. I think he did some really fun, unique things. I think Nico's great too, of course, but the talent in Iron Maiden has never really been lacking until around like the 90s. And I think that's just kind of a period where, you lose some talent and you also just kind of lose that driving force. I think the band was big enough to just, kind of not really... I don't know, try as hard. I'm not saying they weren't trying. I know they wanted a specific sound, but, it just felt like some of the character had kind of like washed away for me in the 90s. There was great songs still, but it wasn't like, how do you follow up, 7 incredible albums in a row. It's just, I don't know, it's got to be tough. It's got to be tough. But Twilight Zone for me, again, great pretty much all the way through. You can easily listen to it. Good song. I like to go on tangents when I'm talking about Iron Maiden, obviously. And I look down and I'm like, what am I doing? What am I talking about? We're doing a Killers ranking. Where am I? How am I in the 90s now? But anyway, it's another thing. Number 6, we're going to go for Drifter. Drifter is another one of those where you can just kind of hear the intro, and what a build up. I like it. It kind of hits you, Drifter's a good song. Drifter's fun to listen to, and I like again what Paul does in the song. I don't think it's quite as dynamic or aggressive, but it's still a fun listen to, and I can't help but just kind of like bop along to it. It's a very, very fun kind of like upbeat pace song, and it's another one of those like Innocent Exile where I've heard it, and before I started really seriously listening, I was like, oh, I like that song. But then that was the end of it. I never really went back and stuff. And so now that I'm going back to them a lot more frequently, I really enjoy Drifter. It's a fun song and it's moved up. I will say, though, the next 5 songs on this list, they blow away all the other songs in this list compared to, everything else on here. Like I think the top 5 here are just incredible songs. I think they're all pretty interchangeable, with the exception of maybe a couple, but they're still just so far above anything else on this album. And I love this whole album too, so that's really saying a lot. 5 for me, it is going to be Prodigal Son. And Prodigal Son has always been a song that sounds so very different from anything else they did in and around these early albums. It's had a lot of atmosphere, a lot of imagery, and I think it's probably one of the better showings that Paul had. I think he can kind of calm the voice and then bring it up high and then do what he has to do, all over the range. But the guitars sound good. It's just so fun and unique and different. I think it's a great, it's the closest thing to Strange World to me on the subsequent albums, just atmosphere wise. I think it's the only one where I could picture it being like the opening to a documentary about music. I could picture it being, the title track to open up a show. I could see it being all kinds of different things. And, I just think that like chill build up into whatever amazingness is going to come next really is where it sits for me on this list. It's so funny too, because like a lot of people either overlook it or don't really like this song. But I don't know. I think it's worth a listen. I think if you compare it to other Iron Maiden stuff, it's kind of like how Metallica, if you compare like the 90s stuff to anything in the 80s, you're going to be disappointed. But at the same time, it's like if you just listen to each album as its own thing, you're like, oh, every album's pretty good, actually. Same with Prodigal Son in the, catalog of Iron Maiden. If you just listen to it thinking, hey, it's a good song versus is it a good Iron Maiden song? Because, I don't need the formula to make good Iron Maiden songs. I just need Iron Maiden to make a good song. And this is kind of what it's like for me listening to that one. Number 4, another kind of weirdly overlooked song, which is fun. I think this song's awesome. I always have. And I don't see anybody else loving this song the way I do, but Another Life, I don't know what it is about this song, but a lot of people can't stand it. A lot of people think it's cheesy or, just not fun to listen to or whatever. And I think, maybe it hasn't stood up as well as some of these other songs have, but they did it in 81, I think they made this song. So it's like, yeah, back in the day, though, this thing was probably kind of like face melting, kind of mind blowing, kind of awesome. I mean, it might not, it might be cheesy in today's standards, but I don't know. I think it's a lot of fun. It kind of revs up in the beginning. It reminds me of like a Dynasty Warriors like 4 song, if you know that game. And I played the hell out of Dynasty Warriors, so that was always also kind of fun to me. Is like just listening to that song, I was like, oh wow, that sounds like they got inspired by Another Life. The music on here, which again, Dynasty Warriors music is fun and good and stuff like that, but it's not. It is also cheesy, so I get it. I like Paul's vocals. I like the song structure. I think it's fun to kind of jump around. And this feels like, it feels like the guitarists were really starting to work on stuff together, and it feels very, like they had clicked on this song. Definitely worth a listen. It's a lot of fun. I love listening to this song, like, working out or something. Again, even myself, like, I know that's kind of cheesy, but I don't know. I like it. Always liked this song. Top three are going to be iconic. They're going to be excellent songs. They are songs I can listen to all day, every day, songs I will sing all day, every day. I love these so much. And we're going to start it off with number 3, Wrathchild. And Wrathchild to me is a song I've heard live a couple of times, and no matter where I hear it or when I hear it, I play bass, so a lot of the bass intros in this album specifically are really fun and cool. Wrathchild, one of the most iconic bass intros, and the song itself is an anthem song. It is something you can just sing over and over again, but it's not overplayed, I feel like, either. Whereas, you got a bunch of these anthem songs, self-titled. You got Run to the Hills, of course, even Number of the Beast to a degree. The Trooper gets played a lot. Fear of the Dark is one that it gets played over and over again constantly. And I like Fear of the Dark as a song, but I don't like it the way other people do. So I don't know if it's just from hearing those songs so much or what, but a lot of that kind of gets lost in the shuffle for me, and I don't necessarily need to hear them anymore. But man, Wrathchild, I hear it a lot, and I still want to hear more of it. I think it's such a well put together song. I mean, they were kids at the time of making this. These two albums come out, they were kids making this music, and it's so good. Yeah, Wrathchild, I don't know. It's like I say, it's fun to sing. It's a crowd pleaser. The bass is great. The guitars do their thing. The drums just so perfectly match every single beat. I love it. I love Wrathchild. Very good. I'm an energy guy, though. I like energetic music a lot. I like catchy music a lot. Murders in the Room Work for me is number 2. This song has been something I have loved ever since I heard it. It's got the atmospheric introduction with the harmonics and everything. It's got some bass going and doing its thing. I mean, it's everything I love in a song. And then it gets fast. It gets, the song itself takes you on a ride. It tells a story. It's fun. It's a very good song. I like Murders a lot. And I don't know. I think it's a very iconic song as well. I think it doesn't get the play it deserves. I think people kind of overlook it. I mean, it gets a lot of credit, but I think it's still pretty overlooked just because of, when it came out. I think if it had come out in earlier years or even some of the later years. I mean, if this came out on like No Prayer for the Dying or something, people would be losing their mind over it. And I think it's a song people definitely love and lose their mind over, but I don't know. I just don't think it gets the love it deserves still. I think the instrumentals, and I was talking about Adrian Smith adding like kind of effects and like guitar cues and things like that to accentuate and harmonize with vocals as well as drum beats and imagery and things like that. It really shows in this song, and then of course going forward it will. But it's a very, very good song, very fun song to listen to. One that comes on and I'm just like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Let me listen to this thing. But that brings me to the number 1 song, and this might even be kind of controversial because it's a song that I don't think gets the respect it deserves, but Killers is my number 1, and I think it's a very, very fun song. I think it's a very good song, and it's been one that might be up high for me just because of the nostalgia factor. I was loving this song from as long as I could remember this album. One of the first songs I messed around with on bass. It's got good bass in it. It's I think Paul Di'Anno just does a fantastic job on this one. It's almost like I don't know. I think it's like one of his best performances. I really do. I think he did such a good job on this song. He has to go high to low real fast. He has to go like more spoken to singing. There's a lot of like ad libs and things on here that I love. I don't know. It's just such a fun song. It's such a ride. It's the, the self-titled track, which I just think is fantastic. I have heard, like I say, a lot of people just don't really give it the credit it deserves for some reason. And I didn't realize that. I always thought it was like one of those beloved songs that people just loved. But there's a lot of, ups and downs with it. A lot of people love it. A lot of people hate it. I am somebody who's always loved it. And I think, honestly, it being number one on here is, I don't think people argue that it's a bad song, but probably not the best on the album. I don't know. I crave this song. It's one of those where, if I'm being completely honest, like, there's probably better written songs, there's probably catchier songs, but this is a song where if somebody says, hey, you want to listen to Iron Maiden, this is one of those that always kind of floats across my brain for a little bit and goes, yeah, I definitely want to listen to Killers at some point. So just that alone, I mean, I think it's got to go up there. But yeah, Killers, that's the album 1 through 11. Good album, very underrated, I believe. I think, I love the whole 80s catalog. I love it so much, and I could listen to pretty much every song, so it's got a lot of competition, but it holds up well, and I appreciate y'all, listening to the ranking and talking about my favorite band. We're going to do other music rankings and things like that. We do shows, movies, whatever. If you guys have suggestions or want to talk about any of this stuff, please do. What's your favorite song on this album? Where would you rank them? Again, there's no right or wrong answer. If you guys put Genghis Khan up number one, I can't argue that. I mean, it's a very good song. It's well written, and I definitely appreciate and respect your opinions on that. So, hey, more power to y'all if you like it. I mean, it's great music all around, and I appreciate you all for listening to it and listening to me and hanging out, and I will see you all in the next one. Please take care of yourself and take it easy, y'all.